Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world or whatever time you'll be watching this video. Now, guys, I see so many things going on social media, and I don't know. My head is scratching. I don't, I'm in a lot of, my social media search or the algorithm is very diverse, right? Because I'm in Canada, so and based on what I watch, right? So I see a lot of what is happening in Jamaica, in Canada, in the US, um, in for at least a few countries in Africa, and even in Asia. So I'm not stick to one diaspora, right? Because I want to see what is happening globally, not just in my little pocket of the woods. And I there are lots of small businesses I see on social media, right? Lots of people trying to do their little bit, and I don't see other nationalities or other countries, their small business people. I don't see anyone bashing another person's business as how I see in the Jamaican diaspora. I understand that if I decide to patronize one of these, small businesses, and I wasn't satisfied with the service, and then try reaching out to them personally, the same way I reached out to them to purchase their services. If I'm not satisfied, I reach back out to them the same way to, air my discontent with whatever it is that they're doing. If personally, I've never done this, but I'm just saying, if I am not satisfied with their response, and then I want to come on social media and air my grouse, then I say, okay, well, you know, that's how someone choose to deal with it. But I don't understand if I don't or have never done business with company A. Never done any business with company A. How is it that I am going to come out and start bashing companies A business? Whether both of us started similar, we're in the same line, and you happen to be more successful than I am, I don't think I should be bashing you. I should say, look at what it is that you are doing, and try and either use your strategy or one up you, add a little tweak to whatever strategy it is that I see you using, and try to, one up you to be in competition. But if I've never patronized your business, why is it that I'm going to come out and bash your business? And honestly, guys, I see that so many times. And personally, looking on, when I see this, if I see person A bashing person B's business, and they have never had any contact with that person, I would never support the person doing the bashing. It doesn't matter. Because, as I said, unless you have had personal business to conduct with that person and you didn't like their response to whatever issues you have with them, they didn't try to rectify whatever situation. If I buy a shirt from you and the shirt came with a stain, and I call you and you decide to give me sass or whatever, and then I go on social media and say, okay, I bought this from you and yada yada yada, and blah blah blah. But if I've never bought something from you, I don't understand. Case in point, you have two, well, you have a lot of small bakers, small business bakers on social media in the Jamaican diaspora. Both of them started getting popular in and around the same time, back in 2018, 2019, thereabouts. But one person says that they're the best baker, and the other person will come out and say, well, I am not the best, and I wasn't formally taught. Well, none of them have been formally taught, right? I think most recently some of them, well, they both have had like courses or so, but none of them have been formally taught in an institution like a hospitality institution to um, for their trade. It's just how they were raised and saw their family members, and they picked up on the skill, right? Personally, boy, it's a lot of work for me. I know baking is a lot of work for me, because when I bake for my family, and just one small batch, man, sometimes me tired. So anybody who is doing that kind of bulk stuff, bulk baking, mass cooking, man, I give you guys props, because no, I will only do it for my family. That's about it. Now, I get it that they don't really like each other. I get it. But I can't understand why, quote unquote, the best baker always, especially during the, for lack of a better word, the cake season, because cake is sold year round, right? But it's a peak season for people buying cake. Every time the peak season, the peak cake season comes around, there is always this this tsunami on social media regarding cakes. And it's always the best baker who is bashing the so-called non-baker on social media. And I saw something this morning, and it just popped into my head, and I'm like, the best baker is always complaining that she's not getting sales and yada yada yada. Mark you, they both have social media platforms, right? The non-baker has a larger platform than the best baker, than the so-called best baker. But the so-called non-baker, she has supporters on her page, not just followers. Whereas the so-called best baker, she has followers. Because I noticed that whenever the so-called best baker is on her social media platforms, and when she's giving, um, I guess for, like, you would say, educational topics then, or what is happening in the world, oh gosh, I am having a mental um current affairs. Jesus, thank you. Current affairs. Whenever she is discussing current affairs, you hardly see anyone on her lives. But whenever she is doing pasa pasa, or she's trying to bring down so-called non-baker and her business, she has lots of viewers to her channel. Whereas the so-called non-baker, whether she's baking or sitting down just having regular chatter, regular discussions, doesn't matter what she's talking about. And she doesn't bash people's business, right? She always has thousands of people watching, right? But the main point why I brought up this this topic this morning. This morning, well, I see the so-called Miss Baker. She came out, and apparently, I don't know if it was a customer or just one of her viewers, said that they bought a cake from the so-called non-baker the other day, and the so-called Miss Baker was criticizing the cake. I listened like a few. I'm not even sure it was a minute, because if you're going to be bashing somebody's product, I'm not going to sit and listen to it, right? But then from the video, you know that, and then she put a caption that it's not her cake, so you know it's nothing good that was being said, right? Continue on Highway 401. So, sorry guys, I'm driving, so I'm just trying to change lanes here on the highway. Right. So that happened the other day, and she posted the video, and I know she made disparaging remarks that the cake is, disparaging stuff about the cake. I don't know if she has done any more, or if she had done any more since then, because honestly, sometimes if I see her topics, if you will say, okay, let me see if she's doing any current affairs, and if you start listening for 2 minutes, she will, or if her headline is on whatever current affairs, because people, you will listen or try to listen to persons who have different ideas, different knowledge of stuff, right? But I find that once she starts, she will give you the 2 minutes of current affairs, and then the rest of the content is on the so-called non-baker. So I just don't bother to listen, right? But this morning I woke up and I'm scrolling through YouTube, and then I see another post, and this post, I'm assuming it was the so-called non-baker's cake. I don't know. I didn't listen to it. Nothing at all. I didn't listen nor read any comments. And I'm thinking, are these your supporters or your viewers that are sending you these products for you to bash? And if it's your supporters, did they purchase anything from you for this season? Because I see her, she keeps saying that, the so-called non-baker has damaged her business because people won't purchase from her and yada, 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 yada. But I'm saying, these people who are sending you these videos or these pictures, are they also supporting you? And honestly, guys, whether you come out to bash the so-called non-bakers business or not. Guess what? The so-called non-baker already got your money. She already got your money. And the so-called non-baker, her products are more expensive than the so-called best baker. Right? So you are going to bypass the so-called best baker with the cheaper products to go and purchase the so-called non-bakers expensive products. And then when you're finished, so you didn't support the so-called best baker with her cheaper products, right? And you bypass her to go and buy the so-called non-bakers expensive products. And then you're going to send the pictures and videos to the so-called best baker, and then she's really going to post those. Now, I would not be posting those videos because the first thing I'm going to say, why are you sending this to me? If it's not to your taste, I'm going to say, why are you sending this to me? I said my products are best and they're cheaper, and you bypass me to go buy expensive products. You should have just come to me. So make it make sense to me, people. If you are not going to support me and my best products at more reasonable prices, then don't come to me and show me when you bypass me to go buy expensive products and then you don't like it or you want to criticize it for whatever reason. And then the so-called best baker, in my opinion, all she's doing is promoting the so-called non-bakers products, because she's calling the so-called non-bakers name and showing and showcasing the products more than she's actually doing her own. Albeit she calls her business name, but if there is a 4-hour live, the 4 hours will be on the so-called non-baker and her products and pictures putting up. Whereas she may advertise her business name maybe once every hour, so that will be 4. But then for the rest of the 4 hours, it's all about the so-called non-baker. Guys, make it make sense. Do. Make it make sense to me. And this, I find this every peak season for baking. No, I don't care about the two of them. Because I don't know. When I say I don't care about the two of them, I mean whatever feud that they're having. Right? Because I came on social media and saw both of them. I know that they've had some interactions, some sociable interactions in the past. And I don't come here to pull nobody's bungle. And I don't argue for people. Because cockroach no business in a foul fight. But that is just my observation. And I don't understand. And maybe because I'm not that much of a confrontational person. But then if we had some sort of a relationship or whatever and it went sour, right? I just deal with it and move on, get on with life. The amount of time I see this so-called best baker spend on this so-called non-baker. No, sir. I could never invest so much time into somebody that I don't like. Boy, maybe something wrong with me. But if we have our outs, that time, and I just move on with my life. Because the more I take up you, it's a more stressful life gets. And there is nobody that is going to cause me sleepless nights, headache, and make my life miserable. No, sorry, Bob. Nope, nope, nope. So again, just my little observation for the so-called best baker. The people that are sending you the so-called non-bakers expensive products, are they supporting you? Are they supporting you? Or they're just only using your platform to try and bash somebody? Because if they didn't buy my products, I don't want to hear about you and your products that you left me to go buy. Especially when I'm the so-called best baker. Food for thought. Guys, let me know your comments in the comment section. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Just some food for thought.